think it's cool that I stream. I think it's cool that people want to watch and have fun and hang out. And I think that's awesome. And I'm also really happy that I'm not like desperately streaming because otherwise I don't get my rent paid. Anyway, let's try this again. And it would be. And, you know, if you can do that and that's what you want to do with your life, you know, I'd say go for it. That could be a lot of fun. The thing I've noticed is that very few people make money in it, really. And, well, so you'd have to figure out a way to really, like, you know, get into self-promotion in order to get over the edge. And even the people that make money on it tend not to make a lot of money on it. That's... Yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine. It's gotta be, it's risky business. I think the majority of people that try to get into it as a real job don't succeed. And even the people that do succeed tend to barely succeed at it. But yeah, exactly. That's what I think. Mm-hmm. I believe it. Yeah, no, I'm sure. I'm sure that happens. I didn't lose any viewers. I had 3 people watching me before I went off and before I stopped speedrunning, and I have 3 people watching me now. My viewers are loyal. Both of them. Yeah. But I believe it. You got to keep going. You got to be on like very regularly. You can't really take days off. You know, I was watching who was it? High Spirits a little while ago, a couple weeks ago or something like that. And it was really kind of sad because he was talking about his hand and like his hand was really hurting him. He must play a ton of games, so it makes sense that he was like struggling with carpal tunnel or something like that. I'm not sure exactly what it is. I didn't ask. And he couldn't stop playing. He had to keep playing. You know, hand falling apart. You know, permanently damaging your body playing a repetitive video game over and over again. He cannot stop because he will be kicked out of his apartment. If he doesn't stream, he starves to death, you know? And it's like, Jesus. I don't want that to be me.
Schattenlaub. Schattenlaub.
Mm-hmm. Nope. Yeah, I agree. It's just
Accepted.
the money is not that good. It seems like there's a very small elite group of streamers that have thousands of viewers and things like that that make a lot of money, and good for them. If they're putting on a good show, that's awesome. And there's a lot of people like me that have like
Accepted.
basically 2 to 5 people watching at any given time, and they're not making any money doing it. They're just doing it for fun, and that's cool too. And the people that are really in seem like they're in like risky business are the people that have like a couple hundred viewers, like this like great middle of people that have like 100 viewers, 200 viewers, something like that, where they're financially dependent on them, but they don't have the enormous viewer base to actually be able to get money comfortably, where they could potentially cushion against any unforeseen or unexpected event. Which is like the vast majority of streamers that are actually involved, like heavily economically invested in Twitch. Anyway, let's see if we can get some money. This is a good system, so hopefully we can get out of here with some good cash. That is 2 for 50, 3 for 70, 110 for 4. I just go with what I got. I just go with what I got. I've got 4. I can only fit 1 more file. I don't think it's worth it to do a double retreat, cancel the alert, and then go back in. I think it's better to just get out of here and cross our fingers and hope we got enough money to win the game. Because on average, we will. On average, we will. 80% of the time, we'll have it every time. That was a... We got enough, kinda. Let's just go with it. That's not where I wanted to be. But it's good enough for a speedrun, so let's go for it. We can do this. I believe too. And I believe I need to talk to this guy, and I almost walked right past him. Yeah, so I'm gonna play this. I gotta figure out what else I'm doing today. I may even try to load up Temple of Elemental Evil and start working on that. I really wanted to work on a speedrun for that game. I'm just still super bummed that I can't get the unmodified DLL to run due to resolution issues. So if I did do speedruns of it, it would be on a modded version of Temple of Elemental Evil, which is fine. Like there's no like people in speedrunning tend to not want to do that, and I can understand why. At the same time, there's no like law in speedrunning against it, especially when it's being done. Especially when it's being done for a necessity that's technical, like the game doesn't work on modern computers, sort of thing. Anyway, we got a really good event there, which made up for quite a lot of time. Yeah. I think it's a combo of things. Like I've tried to run it in an emulator and it hasn't worked yet. I could still mess around with it. Like an old like Windows 2000 emulator, I haven't been able to get that to go. And I think it's because the version of the game I have is from GOG, and the GOG version is, according to the guy who made the mod, and I didn't know this until he told me, not the original version of the game either, which is weird. So I'm worried it's some like weird hybrid where, whoa, I didn't do it. Where it's modified to work on computers kind of, but not well. So it doesn't work on modern computers, but it doesn't work on old computers either. And you need to do you need to run a mod that changes the display settings in order to get to do anything, really. Anyway, the only real annoying thing is the guy who made the mod changed some of the game rules and actually fixed a lot of the glitches, which is both, you know, from his perspective, totally makes sense. From my perspective, is like this horrible thing because I want them. I want the game to be a glitchy mess. There's that, or Dragonfall would be another one. I know we were talking about that earlier. One of the reasons I would speak very highly of Fulgrim is he's been very helpful to me. I talked to him before about speedrunning Dragonfall, and he was a very nice guy and like just sent me all of his notes. Like, here's what I got. Here's what you do. You know, it was very helpful. And I did I've done a couple of runs of Dragonfall, but never really got to the point where I was like, you know, really speed running it. It was more like I was routing it in a somewhat hasty fashion, you know, if that makes sense. But that is one that I could get into. I'm thinking I should start doing that at start doing a backup game at some point, because I like this game and I really like speedrunning this game. I'm also very much know that if I am doing nothing but, there we go, we set off the alarm. That's unfortunate. We're gonna keep going. I think we're gonna make it. So we're invisible, which means no one can see us, but when we walk past a security camera, like that, if we go into its vision, there's a perception test that gets thrown, and they can potentially set an alarm. Which it did there. It's okay. It's fine. We'll be okay. It can turn bad if they start shooting at Ricky. And we were going to death warp there anyway. But it's a bit of a time loss because it slows you down to have to go through the anytime you get into combat, it slows you down. You walk a little bit slower. And if they shoot at Ricky a lot, he'll get killed very quickly. You're hoping that they shoot at Winston Mars, which they did, because he's super tanky. Aw, oh, man, get away from me. Get away from... I can't get away from you, can I? Jerks. Trolls. Anyway. So what happened there is actually very much not ideal in terms of setting off the alarm, but the best possible bad case scenario happened where they shot at Winston Mars and not Ricky. Ricky was able to keep walking down the hallway and ignore them. And since we were going to death warp anyway, it just meant that we died a little bit more slowly than we would have died otherwise. Yeah, it's okay. It's fine. Anyway, we're going to go here. We're going to go to the Native American wilderness and talk with David Owlfeather. Now that we have freed his brother, He owes us a solid, and he's gonna put in a good word for us for Spirit Eyes to talk to us. Yeah, he's a good runner. One I'd suggest, if you get a chance and are interested. I know he did it for a marathon. I think it was Shots Fired. He did. I think it was Dragonfall, not Hong Kong. But he doesn't stream very much. So you'd be unlikely to catch him live. Although who knows, maybe he'll be on at some point. Anyway, we get told to get a gargoyle horn. We're gonna have to go and get one of those. One of the easiest ways to go is to go into a section of the Piala Barrens, which is urban but is miscoded as wilderness. You get all the wilderness encounters in there. And it's conveniently located next to a taxi. You could also potentially go to a house downtown, which has a similar effect, but I have generally found the Piala one is a little bit faster. Mainly because the taxi stand is right there. It's about the same amount of time getting there, but you can leave a little bit faster from here than you can the other place. Also, it is about time to give Stark a shotgun. Yeah, I totally understand. There's a lot of things yeah. And thank you for spending your time here with me. I should say, like, that's cool. There we go. But yeah, I totally get where you're coming from. I think, and that's one of the cool things about reality in 2019. There is an awful lot of content out there, like way more than they had when I was a kid. And it's a good thing to have to make like hard choices about what you want to watch and things like that because there's so much cool stuff on. It's one of the things I remember about the internet. When we first got the internet, dial-up modems and everything, I was so excited, and I went on there and I was like, there's nothing here. Right. Oh, thank you. Did I run out of money or something? Oh boy. I think I ran out of money. Alright, I'm gonna go shopping. I'm gonna actually get Stark some decent armor. That is what I want to do right now. Yep. Alright, we gotta get a Hellhound. These are the easier of the two to spawn in general, so... Hey, Joshua cast a spell. See that? Yeah. Good for him. And I learned something today. Dragon Zero told me that it was because I give up all the clips from Joshua that he goes to his fist. I didn't know that. That means if what I should be doing, I do usually trade out the clips from Joshua, is trade all but one. And if I do that, oh, thank you. That means that he'll actually be useful in the final boss fight. I had no idea. I thought it was a calculation the AI was making where they were like, well, this demon's really tough, shouldn't cast spells on it, should try to punch it. Anyway, we got the Hellhound pelt. We're on a pretty good pace. And we get told to go track down a dragon. I think we're going to enter a weird zone where I don't know whether I... Oh yeah, go ahead and lurk. That's totally cool. Whatever you want to do. Yeah, never feel like you have to talk or anything. I don't know whether I have a passport. Nope, I do not have a passport. That's fine. I tried to buy a passport before, but I think I spammed through the messages very quickly. But it looked to me like it didn't go through because I didn't have enough money, which is fine. I try to keep like basically a running total in my head as to how much money I have, but I must have been just short, which is not that uncommon if you're doing like mental math, adding up every new yen you get, every new yen you spend. Yeah, they are. They really are. And it's a really good thing. You know, I talk a lot in chat, I think, generally if I'm watching someone. But if you gotta like, how many streams you're in where there's like 100 people watching? If every single one of them was chatting, oh my god, it would just be a madhouse. But yeah, it looked like I didn't get a passport there when I tried to buy it. It can be difficult to read those things because I mashed through the text boxes so quickly. So I was not surprised I didn't have a visa. I tried to do mental math to keep track of how much money I have, but a lot of it is in estimates, and I must have been just short of the visa total. That's cool. Do whatever you want. Ah, we got the really nice event that takes us to Sintrok, but we've already been to Sintrok. We don't actually need that right now. We gotta go hunt down a dragon right now. Alright, hold on to your seatbelts because we gotta take on Cave Squad, Renraku's finest cave-based strike force. They've holed up a dragon and are holding him hostage. How they're doing this when they can barely kill Joshua, I do not know. But that is what is going on. Yeah, that's cool. I think I tend to talk more in like quieter chats, and if I'm in a chat where there's like several hundred people talking or something like that, particularly if they're like younger, I tend not to talk as much. And it also depends what I'm doing at the time. Like I listen to Twitch while I'm working sometimes and doing other stuff, and a lot of times I'm just like listening to it and not actually watching the video or seeing what chat is actually saying. I'm just like listening to the commentary, which would definitely make me much more likely to lurk than actually communicate. Anyway, we do find the dragon. It's probably both of them. I think you're right. think you're right, and I think it's both of them. No, no. Whatever. Just kill me, please. Thank you. Interesting. It's probably Ricky too. What I noticed that right now, like I didn't switch the clips from Joshua over to Stark, and Joshua was going through his spell script, like he was casting Mana Zap and other things. So it's probably Joshua too. Now, whether that's the case with all the spellcasters or just those two people, I don't know. Yeah, it definitely depends on what kind of job you have and things like that. If like it's fine for me because you know, I am usually at a desk. I can usually not play video games well. There we go. Sorry. And I can usually have the audio going, like, and it's fine. As long as I'm actually working while I'm at work, it's okay. I can like listen to whatever I want. It's the same as like listening to music or the radio or something like that. But I can't be sitting there like, watching the video on Twitch. There we go. Yeah. I'm pretty similar, I think. Nice. Okay, we do have to go for another long walk through the woods, which is unfortunate. Oh man. Actually, no, we don't. Yeah, that's cool. I think it depends what your kind of job is, and also what you're looking for. I listen to a lot of Twitch now. I've also listened to a lot of baseball games. I've got an Audible subscription. I listen to a lot of audiobooks and things like that. And I tend to just like having people talking in the background. I pay attention to it sometimes. Sometimes I don't pay attention to it. Darn it! So remember when I was like, we don't have enough money, but I'm doing it anyway? Yeah, I didn't have enough money. As I predicted. I like him a lot. I found that I read a lot more for fun. I read a lot for work and things like that, so it's nice to have just you know things that I can listen to that are there for like my own personal enjoyment. And I found that it caused I call it reading, but I find that I am actually reading a lot more because of it. Whereas without it, I would be doing wasting a lot of time. Okay, that cost me some time. Good. That's a good series. I really liked the first few books of that. I read those when I was a kid, and I had it kind of had Game of Thrones type issues where it seemed like the author didn't really know how to end the story after a while and was just kind of like building a huge world where they kept building and building and building and weren't actually progressing towards a resolution. So I kind of fell out of it after a while. But overall, I really liked it, particularly the first few books in the series. Like, I thought they were really good. Well, get through them. Get through them. That was just my take on it. And I think that was something I picked up starting around big book 4 or 5 or something like that, where the number of characters in the plot kept on getting like increasingly complex, and it seemed to me like it would have been better to keep it at like a 3 or 4 book series, or maybe 5, or something like that, instead of going up to I can't remember how many he ended up with, like 20 or something. There's a lot. In fact, the guy who wrote it never finished it. He had somebody else finished it for him. It seemed like to me it seemed to me like he was building up for it to be a relatively discrete series with a very finite number of books involved, and then somewhere around like book 3 or 4, he was just like screw it and decided that he was going to be writing those books for the rest of his life. All right, it was his choice. Could be. Or it could just be that he really liked it. And I think that's cool. Like, if that's what he wanted to do, like, that's totally. I'm not saying he did it, like, wrong. But for me as like as someone who's reading it, that was just what I got out of it. You know. And I'd say, sadly, similar things about Game of Thrones. It seemed like he was moving towards a very complicated story, but one that could have been told in the number of books he was originally intending, maybe +1 or +2. And then after a while, he was just like, screw it, and decided he was going to write like the epicest epic that ever epicked, and he's never going to finish the story. Like, we'll find out from HBO, but you're not getting that final book. He's going to die before it's done, I think, sadly. I like those too. Those were good books. I'm really glad I got into them. And in his case, it isn't pressure from the publisher. He's doing it because he wants to. And it was probably the same for the Wheel of Time guy too. I can't remember his name. And if you're a writer and you really like writing and you're having a good time writing a story, I can understand how that could be the case. I can understand how like you just wouldn't want to stop, you know? Robert Jordan, yeah, that makes sense. Sorry, I haven't read that since I was a kid. Man. Usually they kill me very quickly. I know. It's this speed run. I'm complaining about them not killing me quickly enough. Like, man, these guys, they suck. I think what happened was Stark got a shot off really fast before I got into the menu, and he injured him. So the guard was partially dinged up. You know, I never read those. I've heard good things about them. I think I'd like them. But I never got into those for whatever reason. The R.A. Salvatore novels. Yeah, I'll have to check them out at some point. The ones I read a lot of were like, was it Margaret Weissman? I know she wrote like the Dragonlance novels, which I really liked, and then she had another Tracy Hickman, Margaret Weissman, those people. And then they had another series that I really liked, and I can't even remember the name. But it
Shut him loud.
But I really liked the Dragonlance novels. Those were stuff I liked when I was a kid that were like D&D. And also I'd read like Ravenloft stories from D&D because they would always have these like creepy horror mystery things about a puppet that comes to life and like kills a family or something like that. I think I read the Dark Sword trilogy. Sounds familiar. Yeah, I did. I read Never Make a Deal with a Dragon. And then there were like 3 of them like that were all part of that series. Never Make a Deal with a Dragon, something, 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 something. I can't remember. There were 3 of them. And I read those. And I know that there were other ones, but those are the 3 that I read. And I liked those a lot. And when I was a kid, I could convince people to play Dungeons and Dragons sometimes. But I never was able to convince anyone to play Shadowrun when I was a kid. Like, not really. I think maybe we had like 1 session or something. Whoa. That was some damages. I can go up to full offense here because I've got a fetish that I picked up randomly. All right, but I gotta get Stark back from being dead. Come on, I can do this. And those were really good. I definitely would recommend the Shadowrun books. Hey, 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 hey. Oh, also, hi, Ninja Panda. How you doing? You're just in time for the next PB. I'm just cranking these out today. Nice. I did the thing. I got the under 40. All right, cool. Thank you for the GGs. I'm happy. That's good. It's... Hey, cool, cool. You know what? Also, Reinhold, and this is totally cool. I don't mean this in a salty way at all, because I think it's cool that people are playing the game. But Reinhold bought me with a 39.25 to move into second place. So whenever I retime this, I'm not sure what it is, but it's going to be like 39.20 is my guess, something like that. So that's going to be second place. All right, cool. Thank you for the GGs. This is awesome. I'm feeling happy about